This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Best Bets for Pets. I'm your show host, Michelle Fern. Did you ever wonder what is in your water? I mean, us humans drink a lot of bottled water, but what about for your pets? Is your water safe? I bet that's something you didn't think of, and it's something you need to be thinking of. My guest today is going to tell us all about how we can check our water, what might be lurking in our water that we have no idea of that might be harming our fur babes. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to welcome Chris Myers. He is the president and CEO of Environmental Laboratories. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you for having me today.
I'm very excited to have you here. So let's talk about, obviously, you do a lot of testing on water. One of the things your company does. So, Chris, tell us, what is the My Pet drinking water test kit?
Sure. We actually have a series of the water quality test kits from My Pet. And we've been testing water for people as an EPA certified laboratory for nearly 4 decades. We've also been testing during that same time frame water for pets, livestock, and performance animals. We're located right on the Ohio River, so we test a lot of the water for Kentucky thoroughbred farms just across the river in Kentucky. That's what spawned this idea. We've been testing water for a long time for everything from cats and dogs to horse breeding farms and everything in between. So My Pet was born just a few months ago. It's now on Amazon and on our website, and we're really excited about it.
All right, we're going to go into more details about your test kit, but we have so much to worry about with our fur babes, their food, their medication, so many things. Now, here's another one, water. But this is important because, our dogs drink water. Our cats should be drinking water. But why is it important for us, as pet parents to know what's in the water? What I'm getting at is, can it really harm your fur babe that much if there's something in there that we're not aware of?
We don't have time to go through all of that, but the answer to that is equivocally yes, absolutely. The contaminants that are in water that harm people can harm our pets, our livestock, our performance animals. But you have physical properties, inorganic contaminants, heavy metals, volatile and semi-volatile organics that are carcinogens. Those affect people, and we're drinking from water supplies like well water and tap water. So if we're having problems with those, don't you know our pets and livestock are having the same problems? Now take that over across the fence, and let's talk about the water they drink out of a mud puddle, the water they drink out of a lake, a stream, a pond. I'm telling you, there's over 60 million drinking water supplies in the United States that are contaminated. That's just drinking water supplies that we know of that are handled by utilities or well water supplies. When you get into lakes, rivers, and streams, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So there's plenty of contaminated water out there for our pets and livestock to be drinking that's definitely harmful to their bodies. I mean, everything from their eyesight, their weight gain, the desire to even eat, organ failure, their liver, their kidneys, their lungs, their hair, their coats. When you get into performance animals like cats and dogs that compete at the kennel level, you're talking about animals, they need to know what they're drinking, not just what they're eating, to make sure their teeth are their best, the eyes are their best, the fur's the best. Again, we don't have time today to go into all of this, but you can learn from all of this on our website, and we'll get into that later. But there's plenty that people need to know about the water that their pets and livestock are ingesting.
Okay, so what about most of the listeners have, dogs and cats.
Okay.
So let's talk about for dogs and cats.
Sure.
Most people in their homes, we have tap water, of course, and most people use some kind of a filter. And I think a lot of people these days either have a bottled water in their fridge or a filter on their fridge that dispenses water.
Sure.
Does that help enough? Is our tap water safe enough?
Again, let's go down the list. Flint, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Orlando, Florida, Wichita Falls, Texas, Newark, New Jersey, San Diego, California. Those are just a handful of the cities where either the infrastructure is failing or a utility employee did not do their job. And so there was contamination that took place. And so that contamination that people were ingesting for days, weeks, months, even years before someone found out about it, it affects your pets the very same way. So the only way, the absolute only way that you know your water is safe, you can trust the person you see when you look in the mirror. That person can test their water and then have the knowledge to make informed decisions about their water, whether it's safe or not. No matter if it's city water coming from a city water supply, they call it tap water, or if it's well water that's coming in through your sink. You need to know what's in your water.
Okay, now that we're freaking out about what to do with our water, before we get into the details of your test kit, do the filters that we get, do they really water?
I know where you're going with this. Are the water filters in your refrigerator good enough? Are the water filters that you have on your sink tap good enough? The water pitchers that have some type of filtration system, are they good enough? You have an under the sink water filtration system. You have a reverse osmosis system in your home, or you have a full house RO system. It's like you're going from one end of the spectrum where you're spending $10 to $15 to maybe you're spending $3,000 on a whole house reverse osmosis system. Let me tell you, it's according to how contaminated your water is, how quickly those filtration systems or RO ion exchange columns expire. The more contaminated your water, the sooner they'll expire and stop doing their job. And so when you get into like well water changes. Those are underground rivers. Those are like there's water supplies. There's 21 million private wells in the United States that people use as primary water supplies. Underground rivers, those are subject to contaminants spiking in the dry season, usually late summer, early fall. You put salt in a glass of water on your table. You let it evaporate day to day. It's clear when you first put that sodium chloride in your glass of water, but as that H2O evaporates, eventually it starts getting cloudy. And then when all that water's gone from the glass, what's in the bottom of that? The sodium chloride. Same thing with the contaminants in the aquifer. If it's organic contaminants, carcinogens, if it's heavy metals, whatever it is, during the drought season, whatever contaminants are there, they spike, they increase, the concentration gets higher. Then in the wet season, you have to be concerned about new contaminants coming into the aquifer from surface water runoff that gains access into those aquifers. So, and again, if you have upsets in a utility system, that comes in. So whatever's happening, getting back to your question, do our filters, do our water pitchers, the filters in the refrigerator, most of those, this is not the good news. It's not what you want to hear. Unfortunately, most water filters down at that level, they do things to help your water look better, taste better, and smell better. But unfortunately, a majority of the contaminants that can harm you and or your pets, you cannot see them, smell them, or taste them. So they're not going to remove the high-level contaminants. Now, when you get in some of the high-end water pitchers, the high-end water filtration systems, they're going to remove a lot of the contaminants, but you get what you pay for. You have a $100 system, it's not going to do nearly as good about removing, especially the broad spectrum of contaminants. When you get into bacteria, coliform bacteria, including E. coli, the disinfection of coliform bacteria, when you get into removal of heavy metals, organizing and balancing physical properties, inorganic contaminants like nitrates and nitrites. And then when you get into organic, volatile and semi-volatiles that are carcinogens, that's a whole nother ballgame. If you have those and don't have the right filtration system, forget it. You just will not have it.
Oh boy, I'm never going to look at a glass of water the same again.
No one does after they talk to me. I've been doing this for 42 years. Before COVID, I used to travel the United States talking to people about this. It's not a scare tactic. It's just that people aren't aware why, and that's the most important word, why should I be testing my drinking water?
Right.
Because then you have the knowledge to make an informed decision to take corrective action if, in fact, you have a water contaminant problem. If you don't, then guess what? You have peace of mind. Bam! You sleep better at night knowing your water's safe.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come right back and talk about how your kits check the consumer's water supply. We'll be right back. Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. CATTREETRAY.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Chris Myers all about water and what's lurking in water. Okay, Chris, you have many, many kits available. You have, of course, the My Pet drinking water test kit, but there's so many others. How does the kit work? And also, how do you choose which kit? Because there are many on your website.
Right. So when you talk about the pet test kits themselves, right now we have 3 on our website. My Pet Deluxe, a water quality test kit for domestic animals. That's a do-it-yourself test kit. It tests for 20 different parameters. There's a series of metals, inorganic contaminants, things like sodium and sulfite and lead and pesticides and mercury, a host of those. A do-it-yourself test kit is going to provide you a way to screen your water for approximate values of certain contaminants. The drawback to a do-it-yourself kit, it has limitations. We can only test 20 different parameters in that kit, and it's going to give you ballpark values. That's just the way do-it-yourself testing is for water. But then we have the Champion, My Pet Champion test kit that tests for 55 parameters at our EPA certified laboratory. We also have the Grand Champion test kit that tests for 200 different parameters in your drinking water. And again, that water sample comes back to our laboratory. So you buy the Champion, Grand Champion, we ship you the kit, you fill all the bottles and vials with the water from your pond, lake, stream, your well water supply, your city water supply, wherever you want to test. We pay for return shipping to our laboratory. We perform the analysis, and you go online with any electronic device and download your lab report to find out the condition of that water supply. And these kits are awesome. It was crazy when we came up with the idea. We thought, well, is this going to sell? It's selling like gangbusters. We were super surprised at how quickly we've gained traction with My Pet water quality test kits. So now we're coming out with aquarium test kits. We're coming out with a series of additional test kits under the My Pet brand name.
Humans and our pets, there's some similarities, obviously, but they were so different. And sometimes I think pets have more fragile bodies just because they're, not developed as much as the humans, if that makes sense. I just think that their systems are more fragile. From everybody I've talked to, all these scientists, that's what I've gleaned. So that's where that comes from. So I'm thinking what might be in the water that might be a human it won't be as harmful for a human, but it could be devastating.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to give you a couple of stories here. They're great cases.
Sure.
So there was a lady that had a pet parrot named Cece. And so the parrot, gradually started, they wouldn't eat, they wouldn't drink, they were banging their head against the side of the cage, they were struggling. And so they took it to the vet. The vet took a blood sample and found out that it had lead in its bloodstream. Well, they tested everything, come to find out the water that the pet parrot was drinking. And because of the small body mass, small organs, it affected Cece more quickly than it did the family members. You follow me?
Yep.
Yeah. And then another case where this husband and wife, this happens with us all the time, but they contacted us. They said, we lost our dog, and 2 months later, we lost our cat. We are going to take the cat into the vet and probably do an autopsy. We've checked food. We've checked the water in the home. We've checked everything possible. But someone told us to contact you. Do you have any suggestions? The first thing I said was, do you have any standing water on the property, a lake, a stream, a river? No, we're in the city. I said, okay, do you have any standing water like mud puddles that stands for long periods of time? And I got quiet on the other end of the phone, and they said, yes, we do. And I said, where is it? They said, out back underneath our deck. I said, is that a deck built from treated lumber? They said, it is. I said, okay, you collect that water sample and send it to us. They did. It had really high levels of arsenic and really high levels of hexavalent chromium. Treated lumber is treated with hexavalent chromium and arsenic, but when it comes in acid rain, the acid rain comes in contact with that treated lumber. Then when the sun comes out after the storm, the UV rays of the sunshine literally cooks the arsenic and hexavalent chromium out of that lumber. And then that water goes off underneath the deck, and the cats and the dogs were going underneath there and drinking that water. And they took the cat in for an autopsy. It had super high levels of both metals. They were absolutely poisoning themselves every time they drank that water. People don't realize that things that are around them every day can affect the health, well-being, and the lifespan of their pets.
That's amazing. And once you talk about it, it seems so obvious, but you don't always realize it. And the other thing is sometimes it's a challenge, especially if you have a shelter dog that's been on the street, to make sure they don't eat from the ground or drink from the ground. So, wow.
I do this every day. I'm chuckling just from the standpoint that I tell these stories all the time, and people are always the same response, like, I never thought of that. Who thinks of that?
Yeah. Okay, this is maybe not too much out of left field, but when you go to a restaurant or anywhere that you don't know the water, do you drink it, or is it always bottled water for you?
For me, it's always bottled water. If I have a choice, now I won't say never. I mean, never is an absolute. It's hard to speak in absolutes. So do I still drink tap water occasionally? Yes, but when I have a choice, if I'm in a home that has a reverse osmosis system, I'll drink RO water. If I'm out and about, I will drink bottled water, and that's what we feed or will provide for water source for our pets.
If I was in your shoes, I would never look at water the same, knowing what could be lurking in it unless it's tested and so forth. Okay, so how often would a pet parent need to test their water?
It's really according to, you need to look at it the same way you do with humans from the standpoint of testing the water for your pets. Because when you're testing it for them out of your tap, where it's city water, well water, you're testing for everyone involved. Now, if you're out and about and you have maybe a course or a route where you're going to walk your dog or your cat, and it's a place where they drink water on a regular basis, it wouldn't hurt to collect that water sample if you're going to allow them to drink from that water supply. But here it is in a nutshell. If you're going to talk about just the water in the home, and we're going to talk about untreated water from a standpoint of no filtration, no reverse osmosis system, nothing like that. So if you're on a city water supply, test once a year. Most city water supplies, the utility people who run those city water supplies, they're doing a great job. They're doing their jobs and they're doing it well. The problem is you don't know what's happening to that water once it leaves the utility and actually comes out of your faucet. We had a $5 million home that somebody built, and their child had learning disabilities. Come to find out, the water meter had brass fittings with lead composition, and because they made sure when they built the house, no lead in the water lines, no lead anywhere in the house, because they were going to have a family. Well, come to find out, it was leaching from the water meter that the city utility plugged into, and then they plugged into to bring water into their home. So you never know where the source of the contaminant is going to come from, where the infrastructure of the utility is breaking down, or the infrastructure, if you have an older home, is breaking down. So city water supply test once a year. Well water supply, if bacteria is a concern to you, you should be testing once a month. If bacteria is not a concern to you, test once during the wet season, usually in the spring when there's heavy rainfall, and the contaminant types can possibly change in the aquifer that your well's drilled into, and then test again during the drought season when it's dry, usually in the late summer, early fall, when contaminants could spike. So well water twice a year, city water supply once a year.
Okay. And I know I asked this question earlier, but just so people know, there's 3 types of tests for your pet, but there's also a whole bunch of tests with, checking for lead and for certain kind of contaminants and bacteria and this. So it could be overwhelming. So if someone's looking at this going, I just want to do a little test and just see, and so they're not overwhelmed, I guess what would be a good starter water test for them?
If you're testing for truly the pet test kit, the deluxe, My Pet Deluxe, the do-it-yourself kit, the price point, if I remember right, is $39.99. It's very affordable. I think there's a total of 1,208 tests in the kit, 108 testing mechanisms. It's a really good value. If you want to come in at an entry level and screen your water supplies to get approximate values to see if you have any problems with these 20 parameters, that's a great kit. If you want to get into more in-depth testing and you're on city water supply, choose the Champion kit. If you're on a well water supply and you want to get into in-depth testing, choose the Grand Champion kit. And the difference between Champion and Grand Champion, you're testing for 55 parameters in the Champion that's really designed for primarily city water supplies, including total trihalomethanes, which is a carcinogen from chlorination. And then on the Grand Champion kit, that gets into volatile and semi-volatile organics that you're likely not to find in a city water supply, and because the city utility is doing their job, and that doesn't happen from infrastructure breakdown for the most part, but it happens from industrial and farming operation contamination that gets into the aquifers, and that's where the Grand Champion test kit comes into play. But those are only for in-depth testing, because the Champion kit's like $249.99, and the Grand Champion, that's the Champion kit. The Grand Champion kit that tests for 200 parameters is $399.99, almost $400. I had a lady from Maryland contact me. She said, that seems terribly expensive. So I told her, I said, well, contact 2 other laboratories that are EPA certified, get quotes and call me back. She called me back and she said, it's too cheap.
Right, because you're testing for so much.
She got quotes of $1,200 and $1,700 for the kit that we charge $400 for. But once I talked to her, I come to find out she was a PhD in biology, and she lived in the Maryland, D.C. area. After it was over, trust me, she was drinking the Kool-Aid and buying the kits and telling all her friends. It was pretty funny.
Now, once you do the testing and you find certain things wrong, I know we're getting out of your area, but what would you tell the pet parent to head towards? So, if they find something, then what?
Yeah. No, that is the number one question asked of all the people that test with our products, whether it's do-it-yourself kits or the in-lab kits. I've tested the water. I didn't find anything. I'm sleeping better at night, or I found something. What do I do now?
Right. And maybe you should sell the What Do You Do Now part 2.
Yeah, no, we do. We don't sell it. We don't sell it, but we provide a path for it. Okay. We direct them back to our website, where we have more than 300 pages in our Learning Center. It's free. Anybody can go there. They go to our Learning Center blog, and they can find out about 200 different contaminants in drinking water or any water supply. Where do those contaminants come from? How do they gain access to the water supply? How can I remove them, reduce them, or even remove them entirely? We have links going to EPA studies, university studies of ways to remove this. Plus, we provide link outs off of our website to water treatment professionals that are approved by us. We don't get any kickback. It's strictly information. So after they've tested their water, we can tell them more about the contaminants they found in their water. Are they of any health effect? If so, what are those health effects for me and my pets, for people and pets? And then where can they go to find water treatment solutions to the water contaminant problems? They can link right off of our website and go to more than a dozen different water treatment professionals who will take their information from using our test kits, the problems that they're having, and they can custom design a water treatment system to take care of those water contaminant problems. Solution, end of story.
Okay. And if it's some people that are these solutions that are, say, if you're a renter, you can hook up to your faucet and then take away as you
Yes, these professionals, I mean, they're like Kinetico, Kohler, Culligan. There's Lowe's Water Treatment Division, Home Depot. I mean, we have a host of entities that are regional and national that provide water treatment solutions. And they range anywhere from a water filtration pitcher to full house reverse osmosis systems and everything in between. Yes, I mean, they'll have a plethora of options to choose from to eliminate their water contamination problems.
Okay. Wow. It's just another thing that we need to be aware of, very aware of, because all of us use water in our homes. I mean, if you don't drink it, you have it through your fridge or whatever the filtration system you have that might not be powerful enough. So really, really great information. Okay, so Chris, this has been an amazing show because I've learned so much about my water. I don't know whether to be freaked out or just be happy that it's something I need to check out and make sure that my fur babes are, healthy. It's, you have to be aware. There's so many things in this world that can be overwhelming for people, for pet parents. But the thing is, you need to be aware of all kinds of things. And this is yet another thing we need to be very aware of because our bodies are a high percentage of water. I don't know the percentage for our fur babes, but water is very important for our bodies. You need to consume it. So you want to consume healthy water, right? So great information. Where can we find out more about the kits and figure out which one we're buying and all of that? You mentioned your website. What's the site name?
Sure. SafeHomeTestKits.com. SafeHomeTestKits, plural.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on Best Bets for Pets and sharing all of this fantastic information. I think it can be a great resource for so many pet parents that, their pet's sick. They don't know what to do. And hey, it could be the water.
Absolutely. That's most contaminants that animals take in, pets and livestock, is through water. They think about feed, they think about, other things they could eat or come in touch with, but water is usually where the contaminants come from.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Wow. I hope all of you enjoyed today's show. So informative. I mean, who knew I will never look at a glass of water the same again? I'd like to thank my guest, Chris Myers, for coming on Best Bets for Pets and educating us all on the potential contaminants in our water supply. And thanks to my fur babe group, Nikki, Charlotte, Molly, Dennis, Jethro, Sammy. Okay, did I forget anybody? Nope, for testing all the water. Well, they didn't really test the water, allowing me to do the test kit. And it's exciting to get the results. Really exciting. We'll be using bottled water for a while until we get a better filtration system. And of course, thank you to Mark Winter, my producer, for making me and my guests sound amazing. And a huge, huge thank you so much to our listening audience for staying loyal to Best Bets for Pets. We appreciate you so much. So thank you so much. And hey, keep listening. You never know what we're going to have coming on Best Bets for Pets next.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.